The rain-slicked streets glistened under neon lights. She leaned against a black luxury car, every movement sharp, every glance dangerous. Her name whispered in the underground circles, untouchable, irresistible, untamed. "They said I should stay away," she murmured, "but he makes breaking the rules feel like fire." From the shadows, a black SUV rolled up. Rico DeLuca stepped out, tailored suit, confident smirk, aura of danger that made hearts skip. Their eyes locked. "Your trouble," he said, voice low and smooth. She smirked back, stepping closer, letting the rain soak her edges. "And you're reckless, I like reckless." Their hands brushed over a leather briefcase, electricity sparking through the tension. Guns and power ruled their world, but the desire between them was a threat no one could contain. Rain fell heavier, the city lights shimmering in puddles around them. Faces inches apart, he whispered, "One touch and there's no going back." She tilted her chin, daring him, letting her pulse match his. "Good, I never wanted to go back." Every heartbeat, every stolen breath was a dangerous dance. Desire and danger intertwined, seduction wrapped in blood and power. Above them, a shadow lingered on the rooftop, watching, waiting. She let the thrill course through her, fierce, fearless. "In the Mafia," she breathed, "love is the deadliest game." The briefcase clicked open between them. Diamonds, hundreds of them glittering like fallen stars against black velvet. But she wasn't looking at the diamonds. Her eyes stayed locked on Rico's face, reading every micro-expression, every flicker of intent. "2 million," Rico said, his voice cutting through the rain. "Clean stones, untraceable." She ran a finger along the edge of the case, her burgundy nails catching the light. "And what makes you think I'm in the diamond business, Mr. DeLuca?" His smile was slow, predatory. "Because 3 weeks ago you walked out of the Constantin vault with their entire collection. The Russians are still looking for you." He leaned in closer, his cologne mixing with the scent of rain and asphalt. "But I found you first." Her heart kicked against her ribs, but her face remained ice. So he'd been tracking her. The question was why. In their world, information was currency, and Rico DeLuca didn't waste either. "You've been doing your homework," she said, closing the briefcase with a decisive snap. "But you still don't know my name." "Selene." His pronunciation was perfect, Italian accent wrapping around each syllable like silk. "Born in Atlanta, raised in Lagos, trained by the syndicate before you went rogue 5 years ago." He circled her slowly, each step deliberate. "They say you're a ghost, that you can slip through security systems like smoke, that you've never left a trace, never been caught." She turned with him, maintaining the distance, maintaining control. "And yet here you are, trying to do business with a ghost." The rooftop shadow shifted. She caught it in her peripheral vision, a slight movement against the skyline. One of Rico's men, probably, or someone else's. In this city, everyone had eyes everywhere. "I'm not trying to do business," Rico said, stopping directly in front of her. Rain dripped from his dark hair, tracing the sharp lines of his jaw. "I'm offering you a partnership." "I work alone." "Not anymore." His voice dropped lower, intimate despite the danger crackling between them. "The Volkov family knows you took their diamonds. They've put a $5 million bounty on your head. Every assassin, every two-bit thug in the city is hunting you right now." She laughed, the sound sharp and fearless. "And you think you're my salvation?" "I think," he said, reaching out to brush a wet curl from her face, "that you're smart enough to know when you need an ally. The DeLucas control the ports, the warehouses, the safe houses. With me, you disappear completely. Without me," he let the sentence hang. The shadow on the rooftop moved again, closer now. She made her decision in a heartbeat. "One job," she said. "I work with you on one job, then we're done." Rico's smile widened. "One job, I can work with that." A laser sight appeared on the wet pavement between them. Then another, 3 red dots dancing in the rain. "Down!" Selene grabbed Rico's arm, pulling him behind the SUV as bullets shattered the night. The black luxury car's windows exploded in a spray of glass. She had her Glock out in seconds, returning fire toward the rooftop while Rico barked orders into his phone. "How many?" she shouted over the gunfire. "6, maybe 8. Rico's own weapon was drawn, his earlier smoothness replaced by cold efficiency. Volkov's men, they move fast. A black van screeched around the corner, more shooters leaning out the windows. The ambush was coordinated, professional. Someone had tipped them off about the meeting. Selene's mind raced. The briefcase with the diamonds sat exposed in the middle of the street. A fortune just sitting there, and neither she nor Rico could reach it without getting cut down. "The drainage tunnel," Rico said, reading her thoughts. 50 feet east. We can lose them in the underground network. "And the diamonds." His eyes met hers and something passed between them, an understanding born of shared danger. "Leave them. Your life is worth more." They moved together, a synchronized dance of survival. Rico laid down covering fire while Selene ran for the drainage grate. She had it open in seconds, her lock-picking skills working even under pressure. They dropped into the darkness just as the van's occupants reached the briefcase. The tunnel smelled of sewage and old concrete. Water ran ankle-deep, and somewhere in the distance, rats scattered, but they were alive. Rico's phone screen illuminated his face in the darkness. "My warehouse, 20 minutes, we'll be safe there." "Safe," Selene repeated, the word foreign on her tongue. "I don't do safe." "Then call it strategic." He started walking, his expensive shoes ruined by the water. "Because whoever set up that ambush knew exactly where we'd be. Someone in my organization or yours is talking." She followed, her mind already working through the possibilities. "I don't have an organization. I told you I work alone." "Then it's one of my people." His voice went cold. "And when I find out who, they'll wish they'd died in that ambush." They walked in tense silence, navigating the maze of tunnels beneath the city. Above them, sirens wailed. Police would be flooding the area now, but down here they were in a different world entirely. A world of shadows and secrets where the law didn't reach. "Why me?" Selene asked finally. "You could partner with anyone. Why track down a rogue thief with a price on her head?" Rico stopped, turning to face her in the dim light filtering through a storm drain above. "Because last year someone hit 3 of my shipments, took 2 million in weapons, left no trace, disappeared like vapor. It took me 6 months to figure out it was you." He stepped closer. "Anyone who can steal from the DeLuca family and get away with it, that's someone I want on my side, not against me." "Pragmatic." "Practical." His hand came up, cupping her face. The gesture was possessive, tender, dangerous. "But that's not the only reason." Her breath caught. The tunnel felt smaller suddenly, the space between them charged with more than just adrenaline. "Rico, I've been watching you for months, Selene, learning your patterns, your techniques, and somewhere along the way," his thumb traced her lower lip. "Somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing a target and started seeing you." She should pull away. Every instinct screamed at her to maintain distance, to keep this professional. But she'd been alone for so long, running for so long, and the heat of his touch felt like coming home to a place she'd never known existed. "This is a mistake," she whispered. "Probably." His mouth hovered inches from hers. "But we're both excellent at making mistakes, aren't we?" The kiss was inevitable. Fierce and hungry, tasting of rain and danger and something neither of them could name. Her back hit the cold tunnel wall, his body pressed against hers, and for a moment nothing else existed. Not the bounty, not the betrayal, not the violence waiting above. Just fire. A splash in the water behind them broke the spell. They separated instantly, weapons drawn, but it was only a rat, huge and bold, eyeing them before scurrying away. Rico laughed, the sound unexpected. "Even the rats in this city have nerve." "Nerve keeps you alive," Selene said, but she was smiling too. Dangerous, reckless, impossible, but smiling. They emerged from the tunnels into an industrial district, warehouses stretching into the night. Rico's warehouse was the largest, a fortress of steel and concrete with security that would make a government facility jealous. Inside, his men waited, 12 of them all armed, all watching Selene with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. She recognized the looks. She was an outsider, a wild card. In their world, that made her a threat. "This is Selene," Rico announced, his voice carrying authority. "She's working with us. Anyone has a problem with that, take it up with me." Silence, good. Selene scanned each face, memorizing features, cataloging potential threats. Old habits died hard. A man stepped forward, older than the others, with silver threading his dark hair and scars mapping his hands. "Boss, the ambush tonight. Someone knew about the meeting. Someone talked." "I know, Vincent." Rico's jaw tightened. "Pull the security footage from the last 48 hours. Phone records, everything. I want to know who's been communicating with the Volkovs." Vincent's eyes flicked to Selene. The accusation was unspoken but clear. "It wasn't her," Rico said firmly. "She had no reason to set up an ambush she'd be caught in." "Unless it was cover," another man suggested. Younger, cocky, with a gold chain that screamed new money. "Maybe she's playing both sides." Selene holstered her weapon slowly, deliberately. "If I wanted Rico dead, he'd be dead. I don't need the Volkovs' help for that." The room went still. It was a bold statement, borderline suicidal given she was outnumbered 12-1. But Selene had learned long ago that showing weakness in this world was an invitation for attack. Rico laughed. "I believe her. Marco," he addressed the cocky one, "you've got warehouse duty for the next month. Learn some respect." Marco's face flushed, but he didn't argue. The hierarchy was clear. "Vincent will show you to a room," Rico told Selene. "Get cleaned up. We'll talk strategy in an hour." She wanted to refuse, to maintain her independence. But her clothes were soaked. She was running on adrenaline and 3 hours of sleep. And somewhere in this city, assassins were comparing notes on how to collect that $5 million bounty. Fine 1 hour. The room was surprisingly comfortable. A bed with actual sheets, a bathroom with hot water, clothes in her size laid out on the dresser. Rico had been very thorough in his research. She showered quickly, washing away the sewage smell and the blood from a cut on her arm she hadn't noticed getting. The face in the mirror was familiar but felt like a stranger's. When had she last stopped running long enough to really look at herself? The clothes fit perfectly. Black jeans, fitted black turtleneck, boots with good traction. Practical but stylish. Very Italian in their attention to detail. A knock at the door. "It's open." Vincent entered carrying a tray. "Boss thought you might be hungry." The smell hit her first. Real food, not gas station sandwiches or cold pizza. Her stomach betrayed her with a growl. "Thank you." She took the tray, setting it on the small table. Pasta still steaming, bread, wine. "Vincent, right, you've been with Rico a long time." 15 years. He crossed his arms, assessing her. Since he was just his father's second son, before he took over the family business. "You don't trust me." "I don't trust anyone who appears out of nowhere and gets that close to my boss that fast." His voice was flat, matter of fact. But Rico's instincts are usually good. Usually. What happened when they weren't? Vincent's expression darkened. His brother died 3 years ago. A woman, beautiful, deadly, played both sides just like Marco suggested you might be doing. When the betrayal came, it came hard. Antonio took the bullet that was meant for Rico. Selene absorbed this information, pieces clicking into place. Rico's intensity, his careful watching, his reluctance to fully trust. He'd been burned before, lost someone he loved. "I'm not playing anyone," she said quietly. "I don't have the energy for games. I steal things, I disappear. That's my life. Simple." "Nothing's simple in this world." Vincent moved toward the door, then paused. But for what it's worth, I've seen the way he looks at you. Same way he looked at his brother's girl. So maybe be careful, for both your sakes." The door closed, leaving Selene alone with her thoughts and cooling pasta. An hour later, she descended to Rico's office. It was all dark wood and leather, bookshelves lined with volumes in Italian and English, a desk that probably cost more than most people's cars. Rico stood by the window, looking out at the warehouse floor below. "Your man Vincent doesn't trust me," she said, announcing her presence. "Vincent doesn't trust anyone, it's why he's still alive." Rico didn't turn. "But he'll come around. They all will, once they see what you can do." "And what is it you think I can do?" Now he turned, and the intensity in his eyes made her pulse quicken. "Win a war. The Volkovs aren't just after you, Selene. They're using you as an excuse to move against my family. The bounty is a declaration. Either I hand you over or they consider it an act of protection. A reason to attack. So give me up, problem solved." No, the word was absolute. "I don't sacrifice allies, and I sure as hell don't sacrifice." He stopped, jaw working. "Don't sacrifice what?" She moved closer, drawn despite every survival instinct screaming at her to maintain distance. His hand caught hers, pulling her close. "Something I'm not ready to name yet. Something that terrifies me more than any war." The confession hung between them, vulnerable and raw. Selene had spent 5 years alone, trusting no one, needing no one. Safety in solitude. But standing here in Rico's space, feeling his heartbeat against her palm, she felt the armor cracking. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Whatever this is." "Neither do I," his forehead touched hers. "But we'll figure it out, after we survive what's coming." A computer on his desk beeped. Rico reluctantly released her, pulling up security footage. His expression went cold. "What is it?" Vincent found the leak. He turned the screen toward her. The footage showed Marco, the cocky young one, on a phone call. No audio, but the body language told the story. "He's been feeding information to the Volkovs for 3 months, including tonight's meeting location." Selene's blood ran cold. "What are you going to do?" Rico's smile held no warmth. "What I have to do, what I should have done the first time I suspected him." He reached for his phone. "Vincent, bring Marco to the office. Now." 5 minutes later, Marco stood in front of them, confusion on his face giving way to fear as he saw the screen. "Boss, I can explain." "Don't," Rico's voice was ice. "I've heard enough lies. The question is why? Money, fear. Were they threatening your family?" Marco's face crumpled. "My sister, they have my sister. Said they'd kill her if I didn't cooperate. Boss, I'm sorry, I never wanted." The gunshot was deafening in the confined space. Marco dropped, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Vincent stood in the doorway, smoking weapon in hand, expression neutral. "I'm sorry, boss, but he was still on the phone when we grabbed him. The Volkovs know she's here. They're moving in now." Alarms blared through the warehouse. On the security monitors, vehicles surrounded the building. 20 more. This wasn't a raid, it was an assault. Rico grabbed his weapon, already moving. "Selene, the escape tunnel in the back." No, she was beside him, her own gun drawn. "You said partnership, partners don't run." Something fierce and proud flashed in his eyes. "Then let's give them a war they won't forget." The warehouse doors exploded inward with a thunderous crash. Smoke grenades, flashbangs, the coordinated assault of professionals. But Rico's men were professionals too. Gunfire erupted, the warehouse transforming into a war zone. Selene moved through the chaos like a dancer, every shot precise, every movement calculated. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was fighting for something, someone. Rico fought beside her, covering her blind spots, trusting her to cover his. In the heat of battle, they moved as one, a deadly partnership forged in fire. Above the gunfire, a voice boomed through a megaphone, Russian accent, thick with menace. "Rico DeLuca, Send out the woman and we leave in peace. Protect her and everyone dies. Rico's response was a burst of gunfire that shattered the megaphone. The battle raged for what felt like hours but was probably minutes. Bodies fell on both sides. The warehouse filled with smoke and the smell of cordite. Selene's world narrowed to the next shot, the next target, the next breath. Then she saw him. Viktor Volkov himself, the patriarch of the Russian family, standing in the doorway like death incarnate. Their eyes met across the warehouse and she saw recognition. More than that, she saw possession. He thought she was already his. "Over my dead body," she muttered, raising her weapon. But Rico was faster. He stepped in front of her, taking the shot meant for Viktor, and the world stopped. "No," Selene's scream tore from her throat as Rico crumpled. She caught him, her hands immediately applying pressure to the wound in his shoulder. Not fatal, but bleeding badly. Vincent and the others formed a protective circle, laying down heavy fire. The Volkovs retreated, regrouping for another push. "Get him to the medical room," Selene commanded. "I'll hold them off." "Like hell," Rico gasped, trying to stand. "We go together or not at all." Stubborn, impossible man. But there was no time to argue. They retreated as a unit, fighting their way to the back of the warehouse where a reinforced room waited. Medical supplies, ammunition, and a tunnel that led to 3 different exits. Selene worked on Rico's wound while Vincent coordinated their defense. The bleeding slowed, stopped. The bullet had gone through clean. "You're lucky," she told him. His hand caught hers, bloody and strong. "Lucky I met you. Everything else is just details." Even now, even here, he could make her heart race. The attack continued through the night, wave after wave. But the Volkovs couldn't breach the reinforced room, and eventually police sirens forced both sides to retreat. By dawn, an uneasy silence had fallen. Rico leaned against her, exhausted but alive. "So," he said, "still think this partnership was a bad idea?" Selene looked at the destruction, the bodies, the blood. By all logic, she should run. Should disappear like she always did, leaving this mess behind. But when she looked at Rico, at the man who'd taken a bullet meant for her, who'd stood beside her when he could have thrown her to the wolves, she felt something shift inside her chest. "Terrible idea," she admitted. "The worst I've ever had. But I'm not going anywhere." She kissed him, soft and fierce. "We end this together, the Volkovs, the bounty, all of it." Rico smiled against her lips. "Now you're talking my language." The war was just beginning. But for the first time in 5 years, Selene wasn't facing it alone. And somehow, that made all the difference. 6 months later, the Volkov family was in ruins. Viktor sat in a federal prison, his organization dismantled by a combination of DeLuca pressure and evidence mysteriously delivered to the FBI. The bounty was gone. Selene's slate was clean. She stood on Rico's penthouse balcony, watching the city lights. The same city that had tried to kill her now sprawled below like a conquered kingdom. Arms wrapped around her from behind. "Second thoughts," Rico's voice was warm against her ear. "Always," but she leaned into him, into this impossible thing they'd built. "But I'm getting better at ignoring them." He turned her to face him, and in his eyes she saw their future. Dangerous, uncertain, but theirs. "In the Mafia," he said, echoing her words from that first rain-soaked night, "love is the deadliest game." She smiled. "Good thing we're both excellent players." And as they kissed, the city below hummed with life and danger and possibility. 2 ghosts who'd found each other in the darkness, who'd chosen to stop running and start living. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. Because sometimes, the deadliest game is the one worth playing.